famous red light. And we're live. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight for the 2023 Meet the Candidates Night. Each candidate for office is here with us if they could. I would like to start with a Pledge of Allegiance, if everyone would join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are you familiar with the sound room right here? Can you grab 4 microphones for me? I forgot the microphones. So while Kimberly grabs those microphones for me, I'll introduce folks in order. On the far end of the table is Councillor Fern LaRochelle, running for re-election for his seat with the Town Council. We have Alan Ward, who currently serves as a Water Commissioner, and he is running for the seat he was appointed to fill. And then we have Len Lednam. Len was appointed to a seat with the school committee, and he's running for that seat again. We do also have an empty seat that we'll have to address after the election for the school committee. That will be a 3-year term. Len is running for a 2-year term. All right, so we'll pass out microphones. Thank you. All right. We have, so I'll just start at the end. We have candidates for 3 different offices. If you'll each introduce yourselves briefly.
Hello, Fern LaRochelle, running for Town Council. Lifelong resident of Lisbon Falls, and actually operate a family-run shop that's been here for 60-plus years. So,
I'm Alan Ward, a candidate for Water Commissioner. I'm also a lifelong resident. My wife and I have raised 3 sons here, and I have 25 years of experience working in municipal that I'd like to be able to apply to the Water Commissioner side of things.
Len Lednam, not a lifelong resident, but feels like a lifelong resident. I am a father of 4 students in the district, and I'm also the president of the PWS PTO, and then I'm also all around town with Positive Change Lisbon.
Thank you. So we'll start with the first question, and we'll have each candidate answer briefly. These questions are questions that are meant to help the public get to know a little about why you're running for office. So the first question will start with Councillor LaRochelle. What qualifies you for the office you seek?
that's a hard one, right? So
Is your mic on?
I think it is.
Yep, okay.
Can you hear okay? Yes, I mean, one of the things that I do enjoy about Lisbon, it is a small community, and I enjoy the idea of serving the public and different levels, and I've enjoyed the council of the period of years, and I think there's just still a lot of work to do in our community, and hopefully I can bring my experience from town to actually make that better.
Thank you. And Mr. Ward, what qualifies you for the office you seek?
I've actually worked for the city of Lewiston for going on 26 years now. I'm their purchasing agent, and prior to that, I was their internal auditor. So I have 2 decades of municipal experience. I was a former town councilor for Lisbon, and they appointed me to fill the vacancy of a term, and I've been able to actually get my feet wet associated with that, and I made a commitment to Marie to ride it out to be able to fill the next term.
I'm sure Commissioner Hale is going to be happy. And Mr. Lednam, what qualifies you for the office you seek?
I would argue my 4 kids. My wife and I have experienced every aspect of this district, good, bad, in the middle. And, for the past 9 months, I've been able to bring that experience to the committee. And, I feel I've served honorably up to this point, hopefully, and I would love the opportunity to continue bringing that real world in district, experience to the committee.
Thank you. The next question, I'll start with Mr. Ward, so we don't have the same person starting every time. What motivated you to run for the office of Water Commissioner?
Marie.
Okay.
Quite honestly, the fact is, it is something that I haven't had as much experience in my professional career. I actually am involved on the city side or municipal side of the government, and the water part of it here locally, trying to be able to apply some of the things that are actually going on from the town council side to be able to make improvements. Specifically related to our water quality and affordable rates. They need to be running in tandem.
Right. And Mr. LaRochelle, what motivated you to run for the office?
It's a good question, right? The too much spare time, nothing to do right now. Serving on town council over the years, it seems like we always have challenges. And one of the things I think coming up with some new management in town and just a lot of change is the town's going to change in the next few years, and I think as we grow, we got to try to adapt to that, and hopefully I can bring my experience and try to help make those decisions and make the town grow responsibly. And smart growth, I'm not sure. I know Don's in the audience. That's been a key word for years, right? Smart growth, and I don't think we quite figured out what that is yet, but I think over a period of time we have to, right? So motivated just to help and move things forward.
Thank you. And Mr. Lednam, what motivated you to run for this office?
Honestly, my childhood. I grew up in a home with dirt floors and no water, no running water. And I saw firsthand what a good public education can bring to a child. I've grown up to be very successful, run my own business. And that is due to the fact that I had a great public education with great public teachers.
Thank you. The next question is, do you have sufficient time and energy to devote to this position? All of you already know the time commitments because you all sit in those seats right now. Would anybody like to add anything to that? I think you all know what you're in for. Okay. So with 1 or 2 meetings a month, boards are limited in what they can accomplish. How should the board you're running for decide where to focus? We'll start with Mr. Lednam.
So it's always kind of a balancing act, right? With anything in life, you have to kind of prioritize what fire you're putting out this week or next week, or and especially in a role like this, you're always thinking, well, budget season is coming. It really feels like it's every other week. But at the end of the day, as long as the main focus, your main priority is the education of the students, everything else just falls in line. You're doing the daily work of whatever needs to be put out then. But as I said, when you're making those decisions, as long as the ultimate priority is the educational product, you're going to be going in the right way, either decision that you make.
Thank you. Councilor LaRochelle?
Thank you. It's interesting on council. What I've learned over the period of time is, the town always has a pile of needs like this, and the resources always seem to be a much smaller pile. And that's not by anybody's demise. It's just the idea of just the way government works a lot of times. It's just a lot of concerns that need to be addressed, and sometimes you don't always have the resources to take care of them. I think over a period of time and with new management and with a, very much a forward-thinking type of government, I think if, the biggest thing is just setting goals and just trying to achieve those goals, and set practical goals, right? Something that you can achieve. And I think if you're able to do that, you'll slowly chip it away at the things that you need to do and hopefully can account for your time and make it feel like you're making good progress. But I think goal setting and actually achieving those goals is really an important factor.
Right. And Mr. Ward?
What I would offer is the fact that in the water environment, it's strictly investment in the people that are actually using the resource. What I would offer is that we need to properly invest in our infrastructure and keep those rates affordable. Anybody that's actually listened to anything locally, we've had issues with brown water and aging infrastructure locally, in balancing that to be able to find that common ground, because the age of our infrastructure in this community is not where it should be. And the fact is, the commissioners know this, and one of the things they are going to hear from me and have heard from me from day one is we need to actually start doing that to be able to give the ratepayers that are actually paying for this not an arbitrarily low water rate, but quality of water that we actually are all consuming.
Thank you. And Mr. Lednam?
I think I started it out.
Oh, we did. I was riveted.
Well, now that I've changed my opinion,
Do
he
you
sounded
want
much
to change
better.
your mind?
Brown water.
So I have one final question. If you think of an issue that faces Lisbon today that you care about, do you have a positive solution you'd like to bring forward for that particular issue? We can start with you again, Mr. Lednam.
Fair enough. I love talking. That's kind of a loaded question. In today's world, when you turn on the news, there are so many issues. But in my viewpoint, many of them boil down to one thing: just making sure that the students that graduate from our educational system are prepared for what's next, whether that's college, whether that's the trades, whether that's just jumping right into the workforce. It's imperative that, when a student graduates from our system, we can't prepare them for everything, but sometimes even just making sure that every kid understands how to balance a checkbook and, simple tasks that many of us adults who've been doing it for many, many years, it's old hat. We're in a whole new world now. And we just need to make sure that we're preparing our students to meet those challenges that, honestly, many of us never had to worry about. The hardest thing I had to worry about was figuring out how to read a phone book. I don't even think they make those anymore. I have to sit on a pillow. But really just focusing on the basic skills and making sure that our kids are prepared when they hit the real world, because it's a shock.
Thank you. Mr. Larochelle?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. If you think of an issue that faces Lisbon today that you really care about, do you have a positive solution you'd like to bring forward?
I was just hoping you were going to answer the question, but it didn't.
No.
No. No, I think one of the big things that Lisbon's actually, and it's not even a problem, I think it's just something that needs to be addressed as we move forward, is as we grow our public safety. And I think the town's already doing the right steps moving forward with getting outside studies and looking how we adapt over a period of time with our growing, population in Lisbon. And I think the idea of listening to the needs that we have and the wants of the citizens, I think with that, balancing that out to try to make the right decision so we can keep our taxes somewhat reasonably, but yet actually offer the services that we need. So I think listening and actually just doing the right work at the right time is going to be really important.
Thank you. Mr. Ward, I know you've given us a lot of that already, but
Sure.
is
What
there
I would
anything you'd like to
I would
add?
offer on this is I would speak to what one of the conversations that Fern actually brought up and brings up often, sitting as a counselor, is retaining local ownership and control associated with that, because water resource is one that actually directly comes to mind. Don heard it at our last meeting. I kind of front-ended it when we talk about the Main Street project coming to closure this year. The fact is, what's next? The fact is, it's an aging infrastructure. It took us 14 years to get Main Street built. I want to know what's next, because there's only one line that runs to this side of town from the other side where the water source is. And that's a priority, to be able to make sure that we're investing in this, whether it be the infrastructure itself or having staff. Again, to echo what Councillor Larochelle has brought up previously, is the fact is staff are a key piece of that. Having the right people to maintain that we have the best infrastructure that we can provide.
Great, thank you. Those are all the questions we had prepared for our candidates. Does anybody have any questions that they might like to ask any of the candidates? All right, so we'll move on to the next portion. If you gentlemen would like to have a seat in the audience, that would be fine. So next, we'd like to take the advantage of the opportunity to address the public and make sure people have information they need. I'd like to ask Kimberly Labby-Poisson from our school committee to come up and give us a little bit of information about the charter amendment that you'll see on the ballot. That charter amendment is sometimes, as we all know, the legal language on a ballot can be confusing. But basically, the charter amendment is to change the school elections from November to June. Mrs. Poisson?
Good evening, everybody. First, just to kind of explain how we came about this and why all of a sudden we're kind of thinking about doing this is over the last couple of years, we've been talking about it. The reason being we've had a lot of new people come to committee, and they're kind of feeling a little lost. They come in the middle of the school year, November. Things have already started. We've already had our workshop that we have in August, so we've made all kinds of decisions. We're talking about our goals and our visions and all that, and they're just kind of coming in the middle like, oh wow, okay, so this feels a little uncomfortable, it's confusing. So we really have been talking about doing this over the last couple of years, like I said, and we kind of reached out to see like what other schools do this, and from the research that we gathered, about 84% of the schools do the same thing. So they have the June elections as their time to bring in new school committee members. It just makes more sense. See if there's anything else I need to talk about. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is the retreat in August. This way, once they're sworn in June, they can participate in the August retreat, which is really a time for us building those relationships and trying to figure out what we're going to do for the year. And yeah. Anything else I need to add? Okay.
Does anybody have any questions? I was really pleased that the superintendent brought this question to us. The school committee did research on their end. We did some research at this end, had our attorneys take a look at everything, and it looks like we have both a school committee recommendation of yes on this question. We also have a town council recommendation of yes on this question. But I urge everybody to do your homework and reach out to the committee, the school committee, if you have any additional questions. Thank you very much. Next, we also have a question on the ballot that is a bond ordinance, and we have Town Manager Glenn Michalowski to explain that for us.
Good evening, residents at home and folks in the audience. I'd like to discuss the status of the Potter Brook Bridge on Borough Road, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. In early May of this year, we suffered an unusually heavy rainstorm that lasted several days. As a result, the bridge sustained significant physical and structural damage. The flooding caused by this storm undermined the roadway and led to the loss of the upstream head wall. Given the bridge's fragile state, a structural engineer has recommended we take immediate action to ensure safety and start designing a new structure. With Borough Road being a dead-end road and having no alternative access, it's also important that we address this issue to ensure the comfort and convenience of all residents and life safety concerns, ensuring uninterrupted services offered by local police and fire. Now you might wonder, has the town sought federal assistance for this issue? Yes, we have. The town applied for FEMA public assistance to help with the costs. Despite our efforts, unfortunately, we were not granted this assistance, nor was any town in Androscoggin County. Additionally, we've been in touch with our elected congressman who has been advocating tirelessly on our behalf for a congressional earmark to replace the bridge. This would be a designated fund that would cover the cost of the bridge's repair and replacement. It is only as a last resort that we come to the taxpayer. However, and this is important, we will not know until the end of this calendar year if we receive this federal earmark. And while we are hopeful, we also need to prepare for all possible outcomes. This brings us to the ballot question. If we do not receive the congressional direct spending, we will need to bond $650,000 to finance the bridge's replacement. This isn't a decision we take lightly, but it is a necessary step to ensure that our infrastructure remains safe and sound for all residents. In summary, while we're doing all we can to secure federal funding to lessen the financial impact on our town, we also need to be proactive and prepared. The safety and well-being of our community are paramount, and this ballot question ensures that we have a path forward no matter the outcome. So I thank you for your understanding and being engaged. Your involvement are what make Lisbon a wonderful place to live, work, and visit. My office will be available to answer any questions. You can email me at townmanager@lisbonme.org. My phone number is 353-3000, extension 102, or just stop in the office if you have any questions. I'll also be posting additional information on the town website and any questions that you have tonight. All right.
Great, thank you. So if anybody has any questions, especially our members of the viewing audience on the live stream, if you have questions for candidates, if you can't reach them directly or don't know how to, just email us at clerk@lisbonme.org or give us a call, 353-3000, extension 112. That's the clerk's office, and we'll be able to get you information about any of the candidates. Again, the school committee is open for questions, and so is the town manager's office for the referenda on the ballot. For anyone who is looking for information about state ballot questions, I put a link on our clerk page at lisbonme.org that is a 52-page booklet from the Secretary of State's office. It sounds daunting, but it's very informational, and it has some key information that it doesn't tell you which way to vote, doesn't tell you whether you should vote yes or no, but it gives you excellent information. We'll have a couple copies of that available here to look at, and it's available on the website. So we hope to see everyone on voting day or before. We have early voting until the Thursday before elections, and election day is November 7th. So thank you.
That link is on our email, our website.
The link to the Secretary of State's page is on our website, and I tried to put it on multiple places so it wouldn't be hard to find. Yeah, great. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for viewing. Take care.
Us five kids
Sounds
actually
good.
all took Bass and went there in the car to watch Herbie the Love Bug.
Oh, yeah.
Herbie rides again. Yep.
Just,
Yeah. Big treat back then.
it's on, but it's not on.
And then as a teenager, we
Sit in this hole.
Up in Lisbon. It's called Lisbon Driving, but it was actually Williston. Williston, yeah. Used to.
don't tell anybody. We are live.
Okay, we're live. You please stand for the pledge. Remove your hats. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councillor Kane?
Here.
Councillor Fellows?
Here.
Councillor Keller?
Here.
Councillor Larochelle?
Here.
Councillor Lunt?
Here.
Councillor Moore?
Here.
Councillor Robichaud?
Yeah. I would like to take a moment of personal privilege, if I might, just to make a statement. I want to take a moment to remember Kylie Turcotte. This young, vibrant woman became a victim of domestic violence in our town just a short time ago. Violence against women is not acceptable in our or any society across the globe. It's important to note that domestic violence is not restricted to women. Men, children, and persons of all beliefs have become victims. Domestic violence does not discriminate. Our community is fortunate to have people who care deeply about this troubling issue. Only through the collaboration of the professionals, police, prosecutors, social workers, and mental health workers will we be able to stop this horrendous crime. We mourn the loss of Kylie. We mourn the senseless loss of lives that occur at the hands of those who commit domestic violence. We mourn the pain, isolation, and humiliation suffered by victims at the hands of domestic violence. Yet, we also can celebrate those victims that have broken the cycle of domestic violence and are now survivors. We celebrate the efforts of citizens, professionals, and volunteers in our community who dedicate their time and energy to break the cycle of domestic violence. No one should ever live in fear. Please, if anyone hearing this is living in a situation where they are intimidated and afraid of an abuser because of threats, use of violence, physical abuse or insults, degradation, or isolation from family and friends, or limited access to finances or communications, please reach out for help. We will now have a moment of silence to remember Kylie and all those who have been lost to domestic violence. Thank you. Next item.
Next item on the agenda is good news and recognition.
Any good news and recognition? I would like to recognize the Lisbon Police Department, Lisbon Fire, and EMS that responded to the events. I believe it was on October 6th in Lisbon Falls, where Kylie Turcotte was killed. I do have some contacts still from my prior employment in the state police, and they said that that scene was handled to the T. It was all done very, very appropriately as far as the investigation goes. So kudos to all of our first responders. Ross.
Good evening, Ross Cunningham, Economic Community Development Director. Just a couple of good news and recognition items to share with you. First of all, I'd like to thank the folks from Align Tattoo for organizing the first Fall in the Falls Art Walk this past weekend. Very well attended. I believe they had close to 20 vendors on the sidewalks of Union Street and Main Street, and if you were down there at all, it was a bustling spot and brought a lot of business to downtown. Also like to congratulate Lisbon Artworks on their grand opening, ribbon cutting Friday, and open to the public now Saturday. They opened up and had a great opening day. It went very, very well. Additionally, there is something run by the Lewis and Auburn Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. The young professional group Uplift LA is currently has a list of nominees for their Finest Under 40 recognition system, and there are 4 nominees from Lisbon that I'd like to recognize just for being on the list. One of them is Amanda Boucher, who runs Haven. Another is our own Kate Medore of Little River Coffee and Lisbon Rec Department. Tiana Lacombe of Hearth and Key Realty, and Kelsey Vosberg of the Lisbon Artist Collective have all been nominated for the Finest 40 Under 40 categories. Are all independent for, health and services and hospitality and things like that. So if you have an opportunity, jump on the website and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other good news or recognition? Next item.
Next, we have public hearings. The first is Auntie D's food truck permit. That's itinerant vendor and victualers permits.
I'll open that public hearing. Any comment on Auntie D's? There being none, I'll close that hearing.
The next is a public hearing for the acceptance of the CDBG grant program.
I'll open that public hearing.
It's actually a presentation. Did you want to go after Moxie on that? Okay.
Yep, you have a different place on the agenda for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
There being none, I'll close that hearing. Next item.
Next item is a public hearing for the LD 2003 compliance ordinance changes.
I'll open that public hearing. Any comment from the public? There being none, I'll close that public hearing. Next item.
Audience participation and response for agenda items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern. Please use the microphone, state your name for the record. This portion of the agenda is solely to address items that are on today's agenda.
Anybody wish to speak to the agenda? Seeing none. Next item.
Next item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered routine and will be considered for adoption by one motion with no separate discussion unless a counselor requests an item be removed. Any counselor wishing to remove an item from the consent agenda may do so now. Seeing none, Order 2023-191 to approve municipal accounts payable warrants, $411,157.47. Municipal payroll warrants, $200,758.76. School accounts payable, none. School payroll warrant, $382,836.26. To approve a food truck license for Auntie D's. Mac Daddy's Mobile Cuisine LLC food truck renewal, and the renewal of a liquor license and special entertainment permit for the Slovak Catholic Association, and to set a public hearing for November 21st, 2023.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, vote 7-0.
Lisa, did you want to take Moxie out of
Yes.
order? We'll do that now?
Yep. Parks and Rec is ready to do their presentation for the Moxie Festival, and if we could pull that from the other business up to now, that would probably be better for them, I think.
Okay. That's fine.
So that item is the Moxie Festival report and update.
Mark? And company.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to have everybody come on. So we have just a short slideshow to show you some remembrance of our 3 days of Moxie Festival. This is kind of an event that we meet with you, kind of a wrap up for the year. So next month, when we start meeting with the committee, we start planning the 2024 festival. It was an incredible year for us. We start way back in January of last year, and the ideas come from the community. It also comes from our office. We start, every Monday morning we'll start meeting with each other, and ideas just start flowing off each other. What's going to be the theme, and how we're going to operate things, and how we're going to spread out around the whole town. There's some really amazing things that happened this year that some of it was by accident, and a lot of it was planned, of course. But we couldn't have done it without the support of the community, without the support of the Moxie Committee and the recreation staff. So with that, I'm going to start the slideshow, and we're going to take turns talking about the slides.
Please speak into the microphone.
Did I say who I was?
No.
My name is Mark Stevens, and I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. This is Lynn Strout. She's our Moxie Coordinator, Senior Coordinator. Kate Medore, our Senior Coordinator and Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. And Jennifer Willey is our Hub of All Communication, is our admin office. And there's Alan Ward, who's a Parade Coordinator, right there.
I'm going to take away from you guys. You guys did the lion's share of the lifting.
So come on up, you guys, because you're going to be doing the talking. Our theme was Peace, Love, and Moxie. And like Kate, this is all you.
I think I wanted to start this off just talking about the growth of the festival this year, kind of from an overarching look, not just at individual events, but just the growth as a whole. One of our goals was to make it a full 3-day event. So in the past, as you know, it kind of ended with the car show on Sunday morning, which is great. But one of the feedback items we had from the festival in 2022 is a lot of folks who came from out of town were here for Sunday and were like, what's next? And honestly, a lot of our local businesses are also closed on Sunday. So we're trying to provide a full day of events for everybody who came to attend. So we're really excited to be able to offer the 2 headlining concerts on Sunday at Beaver Park. From estimates both from our police department and also the media, the Sun Journal, and other outlets, they estimate the largest crowds on record for this year's festival. We recorded the highest volume of merchandise and other sales that we have in our record. Obviously, I don't know from years back what they might have been, but within our recent history. And I think for our team, the best thing was the most smiling faces. We just had such positive feedback from everybody that really made it a success in our book. Oh, this is still me. Okay. And I just wanted to highlight a couple things. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but what really worked, we felt, was having a really engaging logo that kind of grabbed everybody's eye and the theme of Peace, Love, and Moxie was something that resonated with a lot of different age groups. We tried to keep the image consistent through all of our media, so if somebody saw that distinctive Moxie Fest logo, they knew it pertained to us, whether that was online, whether it was in the newspaper, whether that was in an ad somewhere. So we really pushed with our logo, our image, and trying to get information distributed ahead of time so people weren't like, oh my goodness, it's the festival weekend. They kind of knew coming up ahead. We invested for the first time in digital advertising through Facebook and Instagram. If you just look at the top right picture, it shows a couple days before the festival, we had reached 117,543 individual people through Facebook advertising. We spent about $500 on that, so we felt like that was a really good return for our investment. We were also able to target groups specific to things we were offering, like the Elvis tribute or Smokey's Greater shows, or people who are just really into food trucks. So we were able to enlarge our demographic and get people to come who otherwise wouldn't come just because they didn't really care about Moxie, because we had some other cool stuff to offer. And then we were really excited about our website overhaul. We spent a lot of time in the kind of cold weather months last year, January, February, March, April, overhauling our website and trying to make it more user-friendly and also make us have a more centralized place to get information out quickly. And then, super cute picture, I love this. That's to highlight some of our cool merchandise this year, just to say thanks to the support of the town, we're able to utilize Clover point of sale systems. So we're able to capture revenues using credit cards, which was another feedback item that we had from the last couple of years, as people were a little frustrated when they had to bring cash only. So we were able to offer that, and the registers now have year-round use at Public Works and the library, so it's an investment for everybody. I think that's where I stop.
So we decided this year to go from Lisbon Falls all the way to Lisbon and everywhere in between. Rumbo was used. We had Smokey's Greater shows come for the first time. We started talking to them back in March, and they happen to have an open date for us. And so we made an arrangement with them, created a relationship with them, and they're looking forward to coming back every year. And then the other part, what Kate was mentioning too, is that we were using Beaver Park quite a bit more. The two concerts that we had on Sundays was a Janis Joplin tribute band and a Tom Petty tribute band. It was very well attended, and it came in right after our car show. The concerts were all free, and it just made a location. We heard a lot of positive comments about using the whole entire town. This next level was basically a Len Strout was doing a lot of the vendors work Friday night and Saturday. The food trucks. You want to talk a little bit about your adventure, because you certainly had a big one.
Yeah, my adventure, of course. I think at first I was a little apprehensive. I didn't know what was going to happen because we had Smokey's Greatest Show coming in too. So I wasn't sure how many vendors I was going to have. It was a little slow at first. Of course, things picked up quite well. Last year, we had limited food trucks on Friday night, and we saw people going to Food City, McDonald's, Sam's, so I said, we're not going to let that happen again. So I got a little carried away, got a lot of food trucks come in. I had one food vendor a little concerned about whether or not they were going to make money. I kind of let it bother me at first, but then I'm like, you know what, we're going to go with it. And I think it was a good idea. This one particular person made lots of money. He was very happy at the end of the day on Friday, and everybody else did too. I think the variety of food was amazing. Saturday, of course, we have to move. That's the only thing they don't like to do. They don't like to move from Lisbon High School to another location in the morning. It does work. It's busy at MTM. I think I've absorbed all the area that I can, because what's happening is the food trucks are getting bigger as well. So, one space might have been for that one truck last year, but this year they've expanded, so it's 2 spaces. So it was full, but everybody, again, ran out of food, went home very happy. Sunday was a different level. It was the first year that we invited food trucks to Beaver Park. We don't have the space for as many as on Friday or Saturday, so it was kind of like by invite only. I want to try to keep it as local as we can to Lisbon folks first. I think we could have used more, so maybe that's where we expand a little bit next year. Like I said, the festival is expanding immensely. The word is out, and people want to come, so we might look at doing something more for Sunday as well next year.
So This slideshow right here is actually a video that I haven't figured out how to turn it on without changing the video slide. But it's actually, let me paint a picture for you. It's Elvis Presley. Well, not the real Elvis, but the tribute. And he's playing the last song, and the last song was "Glory, Glory, Hallelujah." And I was talking to Amos, who was doing the fireworks. I said, when Elvis leaves the stage, I'm going to call you, and you're going to start the fireworks. Well, I didn't know he was going to come back for a third encore. Elvis came back for the third encore and started singing that song, and the fireworks in the background. So
Cool.
they used that for their website. That was pretty interesting. Good for them. Alan, you want to talk a little bit about your parade?
If it's not the largest in the state, I haven't seen one that's bigger. That is an amazing time because our people, I already know I will get at least 3/4 of them back next year, and they're already pushing us for growth. Carlton and I started this 3 years ago, picking up with the vibe that's already going down, and we continued forward with it this year. Is the fact that everybody that leaves the Capitol Avenue Insane Asylum to get out there gets a thank you associated with that, and that goes huge. The fact is, it is a really excellent vibe. Some of the best T-shirts that I saw this year, we didn't even have anything to do with. The fact is, Walmart's T-shirts specifically, everybody picked up the logo that we had and been able to do their own thing, and it was just an awesome time. And looking back at the weekend in general, I tell people, the fact is, if you missed out in Lisbon this weekend, that's on you. This is a festival that gave something for everybody.
The Moxie 5K is back. We had a couple years off, and, so we're back up to around 600 runners. We raise money. It goes right back in the general fund, but we started this race 27 years ago, and we started off with, I think, 30 runners, and it kept growing year after year. And it's a painful run because it's a lot of hills, but we had a new record broken this year, which a 14:52 record for the Moxie 5K is incredible. You know, the Miles to Mills race, you run on a runway out in Brunswick Naval Air Station, and it's all flat, and they don't have close to a record as that. So I don't know what it is about this. I think we really bring in a lot of quality runners from around the state, around New England. The car show, again, we started this, actually this used to happen in the 1980s, 1990s. It couple decades off, people retired and they didn't have the Moxie car show for quite a while. The Parks and Recreation Department brought it back in 2012. So we just had our 11th year bringing this back, and we raised money for our seniors with this program. The money goes right back into our Sunshine Hill funds, and we use that to support our senior population. The sponsors.
Just a note to say we had such support from the community, and even outside of Lisbon and Lisbon Falls, we had people reaching out wanting to support the festival. A lot of returning sponsors said, "Hey, can I contribute even more this year?" Which we were really jazzed about. More sponsors chose to have vendor space and participate in the festival with us, which I thought was awesome, and just had a lot of feedback about how much fun they had, and can't wait for next year. So we know, we're creating an awesome event for our whole community, but then when other people want to support the event and come participate in it with us, that's just the cherry on top.
We made a lot of money on selling merchandise this year, and in fact, the more T-shirts we ordered, we sold out of everything, and we ordered twice as many as last year. So when we get to the budget section, which is next, I think, you're going to see that the merchandise was unbelievable how many things we sold. We were so busy selling, and some of the things that we can grow upon is that we can have more. We need more volunteers. We need more people to help sell merchandise and things like that. More media coverage is a picture of Glenn down on the lower left there.
That was before the race.
That was before.
You didn't want to see me after.
That was before he ran 3 miles. But we had a lot of people last year. I think a lot of Channel 8, Channel 13, a lot of TV stations bailed on us. They didn't come because they didn't. I don't know why, but it just didn't show up. They had something else bigger going on. So this year it was opposite. They had it was like an NFL draft. People were calling us, and we were meeting in front of the building. We were meeting in the back of the building at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. There was a lot of media coverage this year, and it helped with economic development, kind of inviting a competition. I think it was channel 8 or 13? 13. Yeah, and they came and did a story on the town of Lisbon the week before, so that was nice. And then finance, I had to put this in there because I asked Samantha, our finance director, for a quote, and I just thought I'd throw that in there because she was pleased with how things went as far as financials. And then here is, I think, the final slide. This is the budget I want to show you. Is that we started out with a plan to spend around $51,000. We went a little bit over at $52,788. But our entertainment was, instead of hiring local bands this year, we went out and hired tribute bands to match our theme, our 70s theme. And our revenues was incredible. You can see where I was talking about merchandise. I think merchandise last year was around $12,000, maybe $14,000. This year it's up over $30,000 in merchandise. Vendors was $7,000 last year. We're up over $9,000. Sponsorships was only $20,000 last year. We got to $28,000 this year. We didn't have Smokies last year. And our concessions was soda sales and other concession sales, around $8,000. That's cash. So a total of $79,000 in revenues. And that's all we have. Anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts for this next year? We'd be happy to field any questions you have.
Well done. That's all I can say. Well done. I mean, it was a really good event.
Yeah,
it was really nice. There were a lot of really good positive comments about it.
Yeah, great. Well, so we'll do it again?
Good job. You can do it one more time.
Okay.
Just for 40th anniversary.
There you go. Next item.
Okay. Next item is council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. Order 2023-192, the CDBG grant acceptance of up to $100,000 for Community Enterprise Grant Program. And Community Development Director will do a presentation for that.
Good afternoon again. Ross Cunningham, Economic Community Development, here to talk about this year's CDBG grant program. It's a similar presentation to the one you saw about 6 months ago when we did the other grant. But this is reviewing what we've done in the past and what we're going to do going forward. So again, this Community Enterprise Facade Grant is based on making improvements to established buildings in our blighted districts. We'll talk a bit about that. Traditionally, it's $100,000 allotted to Lisbon when we get the grant. It's usually awarded about July 1st, and then they start going through the process of going through this process so that we can receive the grant dollars. Because we still had remaining money from the 2020 grant, they only gave us $50,000 for this year, with the caveat that when we spend down what we have remaining, which is about $24,000, when that is spent down, they will consider upping our level. So when you get to the motion, it will say up to $100,000 so that when they up our level, we don't have to come back to you and go through this again. The max project allotment these days is $20,000 and cannot exceed half of the total project. First step is to go out and solicit business applications, which we've done. Everybody has to put in at least a 50% owner match. Applications are reviewed by the Lisbon Development Committee, which is our designated grant committee. We have to go through a historical and environmental assessment, make sure they're not historic properties. The project then gets approved by the council. We go out to the bid process. We go into a construction phase. That includes me stopping by, doing spot inspections, interviewing wages to make sure we're meeting the federal requirements. Project gets completed, approved, completed, and they submit paperwork for repayment. the owner of the building pays the contractor, and we repay the owner. That's how this process works. Our two designated areas are Lisbon Falls, areas of blight and deterioration, and in Lisbon Village. In the past, they have done a couple of projects in between these two segments because they are on the 196 corridor. They've gotten special improvement to do that. So primarily we focus on these two footprints, but if something comes up along the middle of the section, we can also apply for that. Previous successes, this was the MT Pools building beforehand, and this is what it looks like now. You can see clearly that's a very nice upgrade to our visual. This is Eastcraft. Note the green metal paneling and the sort of half roof there. Please ignore the giant crane in the picture, but this is what it looks like now. They've obviously got a much cleaner roof, a much nicer sight line, and a cleaner overhead with them being able to have some improved lighting underneath as well. This year we're looking at 4 potential projects. The laundromat, which you've already approved, is my attempt to draw down the remaining 2020 money, and that'll get us down to about $5,000. At that point, they intend to roll that remaining $5,000 into the next year and provide us with the 21. Craft Cars would like to do some facade improvements on the front of their building. Tangles would like to revamp the front of their building as well. And I have communication with Eagle Creek about the white building at the bottom of Main Street, and they would like to repaint that and use this funding to do that. So I'm thrilled to see that come together. Should we get the remaining allocation, we will then go out to other businesses to see what other interest we can get to try to get the remaining 50 spent as well. That's it in a nutshell. I would like to have you, if you don't mind, proof that everybody attended this meeting. Have you sign in on that? That would be great. Are there any questions anybody has for me? Again, you're hoping to approve to accept up to $100,000 so that we can move forward with the program.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The the match of the 50-50, that's changed with the new monies coming in, right? 75-25?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Thank you.
But
I got that wrong this afternoon.
But I was wondering if the money that we had left over still had to be the 50-50, if that's the way it was presented. I don't know when that swap is.
We swapped it with the laundromat. So with the laundromat was our official 75-25. My apologies, the new numbers are 75-25, so that the owner puts in 25% now, so we can make bigger leap. Sorry. Those of you who used the program before.
Mr. Cunningham, may I clarify for council, when we have this motion, you'll also move to adopt the community development block grant policies, and those include the standards of conduct, the fair housing resolution, section 504 self-evaluation and transition plan, residential anti-displacement and relocation assistant plan. That's under section 104D of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Policy Statement, in addition to accepting up to $100,000 for the Community Enterprise Grant Program.
So we don't miss it, I'll make that motion now of what she just made a comment on.
That's why there will be quite a few pages for signatures.
I'm sorry, what was the motion again? Any other questions? All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross.
Order passed, vote 7-0. The next item is Order 2023-193, the Advisory Board Ordinance Revisions. This is a first reading and will require a roll call vote.
Make a motion for discussion.
I'll second.
So I'll tee this off, I guess. So in line with the 2023 council goals, you'd ask staff to examine and suggest modifications to advisory board committees. These are the recommendations from staff. First is to remove the technology committee as a permanent committee, since the council can add that as an ad hoc committee when needed. For library governing board, to clarify the language and duties of the governing board as it's evolved over the years. It's now an advisory committee and reflects how they're operating currently. And then for the rec department, changes so that they're in line with the current duties of those boards. and mainly updates to the descriptions and put them in line with what they're actually doing versus what they were doing years ago. And that's it. If there's any questions.
Joe Jean, are you satisfied with the changes to the library?
Yes.
So I will read the motion because that way it will be on record. Are you ready?
Okay.
To approve.
Give us the short
To
version.
approve the ordinance changes as presented, including the removal of Article 5, Division 9 Technology Committee, changes to Article 4, Division 16 Libraries, Section 2-457, Article 5, Division 7 Library Governing Board, Section 2-547, Chapter 18, Article 2 Library Board, Section 18-31, Section 18-32, Section 18-33, Section 18-34, and Section 18-36, and Section 1838. Changes to Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 13, Recreation Department, Section 2-446, Section 2-448, Section 2-550 and 551, and changes to Chapter 74, Article 3, Division 2, Recreation Department, Section 74-93, 74-226, and Section 74-227, and to set a public hearing for November 21st, 2023. Wow. I had to look all those up, just so you know.
Thank you.
All in favor of all that?
Actually, does that be a roll call? Or is this a...
This is a roll call.
Yes, roll call.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Counselor Keller.
Yes.
Counselor La Rochelle.
Yes.
Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order pass. Vote 7-0. And we'll set the hearing.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Order 2023-194 to approve the school department expenditure from the capital reserve. This motion will be to approve the school department to utilize an amount not to exceed $25,000 from the capital reserve to pay for the purchase of supplies and equipment such as lighting, sound, seating, etc. for the Performing Arts Center at the Lisbon High School. I believe Mr. Willett is here to speak to that for you.
Mr. Willett.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Alan Willett. I'm the Transportation Facilities Director here at the Lisbon School Department. We're here to request the use of our capital reserve fund, $25,000 for these improvements, for the new seating, new sound systems, and new lighting. We're here to request this lump sum at once instead of me coming back 3 different times asking for money for lighting, money for the seating, money for the sound system. So that's what we're here for, is to request these funds be used.
Make a motion for discussion.
Second.
And may I?
Sure.
It's nice seeing something actually kind of moving forward there. Is there a long-term goal as far as for the rest of the area, as far as for seating and the other improvements, or?
There is. Right now we're working on the lighting systems. You know, we've actually got some sample chairs in today. I just received today that we're going to discuss, and then the sound system will be coming next. So, and we were talking, Mr. Cunningham and I were just talking about we need to do some painting on the stage because we have a show coming up, and we'll be painting the floor again, and we're just discussing some supplies to make this happen.
Nice seeing it moving forward.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think it's definitely a needed improvement there. I think
Oh,
it'll make
yes, sir.
a big difference.
Yeah.
I remember performing on that stage back in the 90s when I was in high school here. So at the time, it needed some improvements, and it's been 20 years since then.
It is time. Yes, it is time, and we'll put it in good use.
What will the end product look like?
Mr. Cunningham? This is the gentleman who can tell you more than that because he has the vision.
So in my evening hours, I also serve as a member of the Lisbon Performing Arts Center Initiative, and I've been spearheading the physical improvements to the space. We have, if you haven't been in there in multiple years, we've since purchased pipe and drapes, so it's an enclosed theater space. It's got black curtains all the way around it, seating for about 200 on a black painted floor, so it doesn't look like a gym floor anymore. Still a little bouncy, but that's okay. We've removed all the basketball hoops and things like that. We've got the stage to a point where it has external lighting shining on the stage, and these new lighting improvements we're purchasing now are going to be much more advanced and provide the children, the students, with a digital control system for the lights as opposed to using the old slider things, and something that's more technologically common with today's theaters and things like that. So it will, our interim plan is to provide decent seating and solid lighting and something that's very, very user-friendly. We still have a vision of a renovated building, and the stuff that we're purchasing and working on is stuff that we will be able to use in a renovated building should that happen. Pre-COVID, that estimate was $2.4 million. We haven't looked at it since because we don't want to see the new number. But right now we're making it work and adding more vibrancy to the space through both the music programs, the drama programs, choral programs, and bringing in some outside performances that are just going to come in and use the space and bring some more life to it. Thank you.
Is this list that we have here, is that going to handle everything that you're looking for?
The 25 will cover the chairs, the lights, the sound system, and the floor. We may actually have a little extra for some other needed stuff, but those were the big items that were going to cost the most. Okay. And we believe we can get all that in under 25.
Okay. And I, for one, would pay someone to find the video of Mark performing on the stage in the 90s.
Yes.
Please,
we can
yeah.
Find that.
Find that
What year
for
did
me.
you graduate, Mr. Lunt?
99.
Done.
Find
okay.
that.
We're on that. Thank you very
Find
much.
that for me, please.
Free cell
Sure it
phone,
exists.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure there's somebody with a VHS. A couple people at least.
The lighting was so poor, though, you probably
Yeah,
couldn't
it's
see
true.
anything, right?
VHS, about 10 pixels resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All in favor?
Order pass, vote 7-0.
Next item.
The next item is Order 2023-195, the LD 2003 Compliance Ordinance revisions.
Make a motion for discussion.
Second.
I think Don seconded that. I'm not
Thank
sure.
you.
Yes.
Either that or he hiccuped. I couldn't tell which one.
I did print out maps and give them to the council. Does anyone in the audience need the maps to follow along?
Thanks, Alan.
You're welcome.
So Kate Birch, North Star Planning, Contract Planning for Lisbon. We went through all of this last time, so I won't go through all of it again, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions you might have about these changes, about LD 2003. Basically, the ordinance changes have to be enacted by the town by January 1st, 2024. The future land use map change is basically you should have included there. I gave everyone a zoning map just so you have that for reference. Then there's the future land use map that was in the 2019 comprehensive plan, which is the one that kind of has the fuzzy borders with gaps in between it. And then the proposed.
Can you just tell them which ones are which?
Beautiful. So this is the zoning map for the town of Lisbon. This is just if you want to see it. This is not under consideration. No changes are being made. It's just for your reference. This is the future land use map from the 2019 comprehensive plan. The borders around all these growth areas were drawn to be approximate because at the time we didn't know they were going to be used to dictate zoning and land use. So the idea was that these would be sort of roughly drawn, and then planning board work and council work would kind of interpret them, and it would guide land use changes in the future. And so as part of this process, we've consulted with the state comprehensive planning office, and they recommended we basically fill in all those gaps so that there are no questions. No one's going to say, oh, I live in the tiny gap between this growth area and this growth area, and go to Mark and ask for something that he feels uncomfortable about. And the other major change is that at the top of the Lisbon Village growth area, you'll see it's now a very jagged, funny-shaped little border. And that is because that's the actual border of the change between general residential and ROS 1. So between a growth area like residential zone and a rural area. So we wanted to make sure that boundary was totally defined, again, so somebody who lives on the rural side doesn't go to Mark and say, hey, I want to build a huge apartment building. So the process with the map is that if council, thank you, Lisa, if council agrees to move ahead with that change, it will be considered a minor change by the state. So I will need the chief elected official to sign this piece of paper, and then we will put together a packet that we'll have to send to the state. And I think you'll have to keep a printed copy here in Town Hall in case anyone wants to look at it. So yeah, I know this is all kind of complicated, but the reality is that not a lot is actually changing. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. And
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm fairly familiar with some of the zonings. I mean, just enough to make myself dangerous. I mean, I'd refer to someone like Dawn to give me more detail for sure. But the residential transition, so what does that signify? I mean, is that, I know it's just a different, it's not a zone. It's just more of a designated area we thought would be more adapting to residential?
no, it actually, so transition here actually means a transition between a growth area and a rural area. So growth areas are where the places in town where you expect to see the most growth, that have public utilities, where you really want people to be building. If they're going to build new things, they probably should be building in that area. The transition area is, it's not rural. Maybe it has some utilities, or it's a little denser, a little more of a neighborhood, but there's some growth, but not as much growth. So that's the idea between rural transition. And I believe that's an area that is like half served by utilities, or I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the map.
Yeah, I mean, there's water, there's no sewer.
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
natural gas.
So.
But I mean, I guess I'm glad we didn't add that to our growth back in the day, right?
Yeah, so that's not a growth area, but the idea is that they do have some utilities, and it does border those growth areas. So more things will be built there maybe than in the rural areas.
But definitely that green area is probably the more practical areas that will see growth in the next 10 years for sure. But
yep.
Utilities or not, doesn't seem like it makes a difference anymore, does it?
Yeah, you can have an engineered advanced wastewater system now, so.
Anything else?
It's not like we really have a choice. Right?
Mandatory by the state. Thank you, Governor Mills.
The planning board process that Kay has helped with on this a lot. I've heard these explanations a lot of times sitting there, and I just, for one, appreciate the amount of work that you put in it.
Oh, thanks, Don.
This will be a roll call vote.
That's what I was going to say.
Lisa, I did write down the different ordinance sections this applies to, if you need that.
Let's confirm. I have to amend Part 1 of the Lisbon Code of Ordinances, Chapter 70 Zoning Ordinances, Section 70-535 Bulk and Space Standards, Section 70-531 Table of Land Uses, Section 70-616 Accessory Dwelling Units, and Section 70-536 Dimensional Requirements to satisfy, all to satisfy state requirements.
Yes.
Is that everything?
Yep, and I don't know if you want to make a separate motion or include in there to amend the 2019, the future land use map from the 2019 comprehensive plan.
And to amend
the future land use map from the 2019 comprehensive plan.
That was the motion.
And that was definitely on my motion.
as presented. Okay. Perfect. So we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded. Are you ready for a roll call vote?
Yes.
Counselor Kane?
Yes.
Counselor Fellows?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, vote 7-0.
May I get a signature on this?
That will be. We also have a full signature page for the entire council, since in Lisbon, we don't have a chief official.
Oh,
Okay, so we'll have a full signature form for all the council to sign, but you should sign this one as chair.
Okay.
And the payment book will follow shortly.
Yeah. Or you can pay online.
Do you mind dating?
Oh,
Sorry. Thank you very much.
So,
And Kate, does that need the town seal? Okay,
Nope, I will follow up on the administrative end of it.
perfect.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Next, we have, under other business, we have the town manager's report.
Okay, so tonight's will be short and sweet. I have one item. So earlier today, McGee Construction sent me a request. The plans on the project for Main Street call for a granite curb and concrete sidewalks up to South Street on the left side and up to Douglas Street on the right side. That will remain unchanged. The remainder of the project all the way to Houston Street has concrete curb on both sides with a paved sidewalk on one side. McGee is requesting to change from concrete curb to bituminous curb in this area. They explain some of their reasons in an attached letter, which I can go into if there are more questions, mainly cold weather concerns for placing concrete. Because this project's in the urban compact, DOT will support whatever the town would like to see. So I'd just like to get council's feedback on the change request. Do we leave it concrete curb as originally planned, or do we let McGee grant the change request for bituminous curb per the contractor's request? Either way, the work's going to get done this fall. Concrete curb is just going to take longer to cure. And I realize, this requires some input, so I just wanted to get some input from council on the change request. I'll let them know by Friday, November 3rd. And if there's any questions, just let me know.
What was it before? I'm sorry.
So in the plan, it's concrete curb with paved sidewalk. They're requesting to just do, I guess, bituminous paved curbing because the concrete will take longer to cure.
So this is just because they're behind schedule, they want to do.
Right. So whatever we decide, they'll do. I just wanted to get feedback on the request. I put it out to some departments today too. I mean, we can talk about it tomorrow too
So we
if
can
you
get
want
some
to.
input from a resident.
Yeah.
It does so happen I live up in that footprint, but I also just want to talk to the value of finished sidewalks in controlling speed, in controlling attitude as you come out of Lower Main Street and approach Fern's old shop. People accelerate like crazy, and if you have a black paved sidewalk, it looks a lot less like a neighborhood and a lot more like a racetrack. I think that's what you're defining, is that black,
Correct.
all one piece paved sidewalk. I personally, even in my office and in my front yard, I was hoping we could get sidewalks on both sides of that up to Fern's, and that never happened because the town previously wouldn't agree to pay for that. But having a finished curbed sidewalk that looks like a sidewalk, I believe firmly will control traffic a bit and make it feel much more finished and professional. And I believe that's the image we want, not just my 2 cents.
The curb up there is asphalt or granite?
There's nothing.
There's
now.
nothing, no.
Nothing now.
Nothing, no curb.
Well, there's some asphalt.
What it is, which is granite curbs going up.
There's some asphalt, but it's all old and broken up. And as far as the curbing goes, it used to be a tar curbing, asphalt curbing, which is also decayed.
Yeah.
So it was asphalt with the asphalt curbing.
I would strongly object to putting asphalt there because it just falls apart so fast. In 2 years, it'll be garbage. So, I mean, I would strongly object to that. If they don't want to do it this fall, they can come back in the spring and do it. If their problem, we're getting behind, not ours.
Right.
So I wouldn't accept a change now.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm in favor of the granite curbing.
Yeah, I think granite.
Concrete,
I think
if they don't do granite concrete, but not paving. I hate that.
What do you think?
I think we should go with the original.
Yes, make them stick with the plan.
Well, it looks better too, like Ross said,
Yes.
right? It's a more finished look than
Hold
just
up longer.
And it makes the community more walkable.
right. The asphalt just doesn't hold up.
The if I may, one, excuse me. I mean, before I would really make any changes, I think I would want to actually hear from the engineering that's actually representing the town on this project, right? So it'd be interesting to see where. I mean, if we're keeping it the way it's status quo, I mean, I think that's fine. But if we were to make such a pretty substantial change, I think we'd want to hear from the people that we're paying to kind of oversee it, I would assume, right?
Yeah,
Because I think
and that has gone out to staff, but I did want to get council feedback. Obviously, it's at our discretion, and DOT is going to support whatever we decide. But and I'm still waiting to hear back from them. But I think the only thing that McGee, if they stick with concrete, they're just going to have to put blankets over as it gets colder, so it'll take a little longer to cure. There may be some like heat tubing across driveways, but it's not. Didn't seem as impactful as. It just seems like they want to.
They did a lot of heat blankets last year too.
I mean, yeah, so they had to do that.
Yeah.
On Lower Main Street last year,
Yeah.
and it worked out okay.
All right. Like I said, I'll wait to hear back from Randy and Mandy as well. Heard from ECD. So just wanted to take the temperature of everybody before I get back to them.
Is that it?
That's it.
Next item?
And we have council committee reports.
School committee.
School committee had a business meeting last week. They reviewed their business as usual and had some community input as well.
Planning board.
They extended and approved approved an extension of the solar plan for Upland Road. That would be, I believe, in 2025 now, instead of 2024, due to the CMP issues with ability to carry the load. They passed site plan review for J&R Auto on Lisbon Street, and in that process, extensive questions about design standards for Route 196 were asked. However, there are going to be no changes to that lot at all, except for the fact that the sign, which would have been non-conforming where it was supposed to be, is now mounted on the building. And they worked on a minor ordinance amendment for Chapter 70, but they're going to hold it up until they can combine some to send to the council. And Kate Blanner attended the meeting and was very helpful in the discussion. That's it.
Very good. Lisbon Development Committee.
I couldn't be there, but I don't know if Ross had anything he wanted to bring up.
I have wonderful news. Because I was out sick, we've rescheduled for this week, so you can be there.
Okay, so
this Thursday at
Thursday?
6.
I can do that.
This Thursday, yep, at 6 p.m. In the room behind us, because the school committee will be in here doing something else.
Where did that come from? I thought it was Wednesday.
Nope, we moved it to Thursday. Wednesday wasn't available.
Okay.
Sorry. So, Thursday at 6. And we'll be finalizing and approving a plan for the Warrumble parking lot. We'll bring that back to you folks at the next meeting, is our hope. Thank you.
Thanks. Conservation Commission, I have nothing to report. Parks and Recreation Committee.
Mark was here tonight, kind of giving an update on the Moxie. A couple of things. They've been working on some of the stuff that we approved tonight, as far as for their committee, rec committee, what their duties are. And one of the things I was going to try to get Mark while he was here to actually present it, but I still sounds like they have plans for this Halloween to be serving hot dogs out in the MTM. We do it yearly, and I think we do somewhere between 400 to 500 hot dogs in the evening, which is usually pretty fun. So there's activities happening on Halloween. So here, if you're around, probably not, but if you are, come down and get a hot dog.
I unfortunately won't be here. I'll be out of state. But I'll be thinking of you. I'll eat a hot dog in your honor.
There you go. Appreciate that. And that's it.
Thank you. County Budget Committee.
I have not had a chance to get over there to their meetings, so it's a long hike back, even when I did have a vote on the board.
Well, I did go.
Okay.
I went on the 27th and the 4th. I wasn't able to make the 11th meeting. But I also attended the commissioners' meeting, which was interesting. on the 4th, and made myself known to the board. And they did get $38,000 for a trailer, for an EMA trailer, for Androscoggin County, and a truck to pull it through the ARPA funding. And that was, and also $6,718 for a printer, which was obtained through the local emergency planning committee, which I wasn't familiar with, but Lisa has told me a little bit about what it is. So could you expand on that just briefly, so we have an idea of what is going on with this?
These are county level emergency management planning committee, and I think they work closely with the county EMA director, Angela Molino, and help to plan where certain funds that they get approved for come from, and or if they're getting funds, how to spend them. So these are funds that aren't at the municipal level, they're at the county level. But once I get my feet back into it a little more, I'll be able to report on the LEPC, the Emergency Planning Committee.
Yeah, so sounds like a bucket of money out there that for some reason isn't filtering down to the municipalities in the county. So we got to do some research on why that is happening. There was a move to increase PSAP fees, another 5%.
Harry, would you define PSAP for?
PSAP is Public Safety Answering Point, which is the 911 system. So Androscoggin County is a PSAP, 911 is a PSAP. There's a half a dozen or so throughout the state, usually at county levels. Lisbon was a PSAP when they initially set PSAPs up. We had a PSAP here, but they went overboard and everybody was a PSAP back then, and it was became untenable, so they reduced a whole bunch of them. But in any case, we were already paying for PSAP fees $26,025. Last year it was $24,144. They tried to initiate another 5% increase on top of that, and 5% on fire dispatch PSAP fees. They heard some objections to it, and that was shot down 4-2, so that was stopped. Both of the budget committees that I attended on the 27th and the 4th, our budget committee representatives were not there, both of them. And as a matter of fact, as far as I know, the budget committee has yet to have a quorum, so they haven't been able to vote on anything because they don't have a quorum. So the question for Western Maine Transportation came up. I watched the presentation. The Saginaw Extension made a pitch for their funding that was approved by the Budget Committee. Western Maine Transportation was approved $45,000 for the county. AvCog, our dues are $10,466. They're going to go up to $10,810 for AvCog. That's all I have.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? Maybe you can answer it, maybe not. I'm not sure. So the PSAP fee that we pay,
yes,
is that only because we have our own dispatch? Or
No,
every community pays per capita?
Every community pays per capita.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But they tried to just across the board 5% increase, just because they didn't really have any good reason why, other than to just,
make some money.
They're I think they're what I got from the justification was the movement to help with the movement of the dispatch sheriff's office to the new building, whatever happens with that.
So I guess I was a little confused with the idea of them with the PSAP and the separation of the fire PSAP. That seems baffling in the sense where it's separated if it wasn't for communities that some use just fire and some was just police. But
yeah, I don't know how they set up their budget system, but that's the way they couched it.
Interesting.
So, and that's it for that. Library Governing Board.
Library Advisory Board?
I don't know. I'm reading what it says. Library Governing Board.
Library events coming up are seniors fire safety on Monday. They are working on getting Maine author Paul Doran to do a presentation, but as you can imagine, that is a logistical challenge with the number of people that might be expected to attend that, so they're working on that. They're working on collaboration with Lisbon Art Collective, doing crafts for kids and also for adults. And they're looking at making sure the collection has relevant material, because some of the books seem to be older and no longer relevant. So they're looking at getting rid of those books and potentially replacing them with something more current. So that right now, Carrie's working on the adult collection, and then she will work on all the other collections as well. So, any questions? Yes.
Who determines whether a book is relevant or not?
Oh.
And how do you do that?
Well, you might have a book about medicine dated in the 40s, which is the information is no longer relevant to anyone that needs it today.
So
unless
reference material, I would think, would be.
Well, there is reference material, but you can't keep everything as reference material because the library's not big enough for that, unless we expand.
Gotcha.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. Water Commission.
And just a note, Paul Dorian writes good books. So when he's coming, let me know.
Oh, I was going to actually, if I could interject, was Stephen King too busy to come? Just saying. I mean, he is from sort of Lisbon.
What can I say?
Graduate from Lisbon High School. So,
is it my turn now?
Yes. Sorry, I just.
I attended the water department meeting or water commissioners meeting on the 10th of the month, and Alan Ward was here tonight for the candidates night thing, and he spoke about infrastructure, and I was immediately thinking about what they talked about, which is infrastructure, but not what you think about. It's not necessarily pipes and things like that, but there's a whole lot of work being done behind the scenes with pumps, and particularly with controls for pumps that speed up the process, make it much more efficient and reliable to help avoid disasters that we are known for having occasionally. He noted that I believe at the end of the last week, all the water work on Main Street, Upper Main Street, should be complete. They now have the large rock for the Bauer Memorial, which is going to be in Gazebo Park, thanks to Chris Houston. And then they're in the process of deep cleaning the Ann Street well because it's become a dirty water issue. So, and in addition to that, they're still working with Blue Ox to finalize how a water connection for the expansion will actually work out. And that's it.
Thank you. Finance Committee.
Nothing to report on the Finance Committee. How's that going? We got to have enough people for a quorum.
You don't currently. I actually had a phone call today of someone who's interested, and I referred them to Lisa's office. So that's good news. I know we have some projects in the pipeline for the Finance Committee once we get it staffed again. but as of right now, just that one call I had today, someone that's interested. But I think you're down to 2, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, to add to mine, we mentioned last time that the 2 representatives that we actually interviewed for the rec actually had gone to meetings, and Mark actually was going to make a recommendation and send it forward. Did you ever get that, Glenn?
I haven't received a request for a recommendation, but I can follow up with Mark following this meeting to put it on for the next agenda.
Yeah, people willing to serve and they're willing to go to the meetings. I think we ought to make sure we get them tied in. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, next item.
Council Communications.
Mr. Chair, I have been asked, or was asked, to become a member of the Rail Use Advisory Council. Some of you may not know what that is, but it has to do with, in this case, with the Lewiston Lower Road Trail Corridor, which is the railroad tracks between essentially starting where at the Paper Mill Trail, essentially, or at that area where the railroad bridge is, and going to Lewiston, and also comes this way, all the way to Topsom. That whole corridor goes that way. How much exactly this commission will address, I'm not sure, but the state has been involved, and due to the railroad sale, will be a proposal by this council to do something with that trail area, and this is the idea. This committee is brand new, and it has between 9 and 15 members, and we will meet remotely and have to, by statute, to make a formal recommendation in 9 months. So I'll let you know what happens.
Thank you. Vern?
I'm all good.
Mark? Nothing?
Nothing.
I'm good. JG, you have the floor.
Gee, thanks. I would like to say that I think McGee Construction is doing a very nice job. I look out my door now and I see pavement, which is exciting, and some curbing. So I appreciate their efforts.
Thank you. Christy?
I got nothing.
Nothing. All right. I just want to reiterate again the job that our first responders did regarding the incident, and avoiding something like that is not an easy thing to do, and they're all to be commended for the way they handled that. That's all I have. Next item.
Next item is audience participation and response to new items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are not on the agenda. Please speak clearly into the microphone and state your name for the record.
There being none, next item.
Order 2023-196 to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, vote 7-0. Time is 8:11.
Always interesting how much we have the place to ourselves by this hour.
It's not even that late. Dark, but not
because I have more
No,
space.
it's dark
I
earlier.
would love to
No.
host because I've done several
One
book
sign,
signings
is that right?
Yeah, next time we'll be